Hello everybody and welcome to another episode of Luminous Gaming. I'm your host Tom Roberts and today we're checking out the top 10 best third-person survival horror games. Third-person survival horror is a subgenre of video games inspired by horror fiction that focuses on survival of the characters as the game tries to frighten players with either horror graphics or a scary ambience. Although combat can be part of the gameplay, the player is made to feel less in control than in typical action games through limited ammunition, health, speed, and vision. The term survival horror was first used in the original Japanese release of Resident Evil in 1996, which was influenced by earlier games with a horror theme such as 1989's Sweet Home or 1992's Alone in the Dark. The name has been used since then for games with similar gameplay and has been retroactively applied to earlier titles. So let's jump into today's top 10 best third-person survival horror games. The game that started the popular survival horror genre returns better than ever. Players control Edward Carnby, the main character from the original Alone in the Dark, on a thrilling journey through a dark and terrifying recreation of New York's Central Park, where Carnby must discover the truth behind a dark conspiracy. With inspiration from the presentation style of popular action TV dramas, Alone in the Dark is split into a number of distinct episodes. With approximately 30 to 40 minutes of gameplay comprising each episode, the structure of Alone in the Dark pulls you into a world that delivers a fiercely gripping and terrifying experience. Each time the player launches a save game, the episode will begin with a video summary of the previous episode to quickly re-immerse the player in the story and removing the need to remember where they were or what they were doing. Every episode closes with a nail-biting cliffhanger to rattle players' nerves, and if the player is leaving the game, a video teaser of the next episode will play to leave them wanting more. Alone in the Dark provides a complete next-generation, action-packed experience with a highly detailed, free-roaming environment featuring a mix of real-time physics and a full environmental interaction. This game marked a new beginning for the Alone in the Dark series. An experiment at a secret research facility has gone catastrophically wrong. Daniel Lamb and Leo Kasper are the only surviving subjects. The Pikmin project will stop at nothing to hunt them down and stop the truth from getting out. Demented screams echo around the dark asylum that has caged you for the last 6 years. You open your eyes, a white-coated body slumps to the floor through your shaking hands. A bloody syringe slips from your arm. Waves of confusion and paranoia crash over you. You have no idea who you are or how you got there. The door to your cell is open. One choice, one chance. They took your life. Time to take it back. You play as Dr. Daniel Lamb, a scientist who worked on the Pikmin project. The Pikmin project deals with a top-secret weapon experiment as led by Dr. White. Everything looked to be going well until the project suddenly had its government funding cut due to controversial work methods, which meant that the project would be shut down indefinitely. 6 years later, Daniel finds himself locked away with no memory of who he is or his past. Finding himself locked away in the asylum, Daniel begins to question his own sanity and if in fact that his family and his life before being put in the asylum actually existed. Inmate Leo Kasper decides that this would be the perfect time to escape the asylum and urges Daniel to follow his lead. Unknown to Daniel, the events following a freak storm will change his life forever and allow him to discover what happened in the last 6 years. The game tells the story of Torque, a prisoner on death row for murdering his ex-wife and 2 children, a crime which he claims to be innocent, saying he blacked out and cannot remember what happened. Shortly after he arrives in Abbott State Penitentiary on Carney Island off the coast of Maryland, an earthquake hits the island, resulting in the prison being attacked by unusual supernatural threats. So Torque needs to attempt to fight his way to freedom, whilst also going up against the demons within him and attempting to remember what really happened to his family. The game features 3 endings depending on the player's actions throughout, each of which reveal a different version of the murder of Torque's family. The Suffering was a commercial success, selling over 1.5 million units worldwide across all platforms. A downright creepy survival horror title, Silent Hill, succeeds where most Resident Evil inspired titles suck, keeping you hooked and instilling you with fear throughout the game. Players are cast as Harry Mason in his desperate search for his daughter, who mysteriously disappeared after their car crashed into a gully outside of a desolate resort town. The game features formidable monsters, perplexing puzzles, a realistic 3D town, and most of all an acute sense of foreboding caused by Silent Hill's creative lighting and sound effects. The makers have included 4 different endings based on performance throughout the game, so think, be quick on your feet, and hope for the best of all possible outcomes. The 3D environments in Silent Hill are bathed in fog or darkness, making its dismal setting all the more eerie. Rather than resort to cheap scare tactics, Silent Hill features a gameplay twist that works very well with its limited visibility environments. Harry carries a radio with him that crackles with static whenever the game's monsters are near, and continues until they're no longer in the vicinity or have been killed off. Silent Hill is a classic third-person survival horror game. If you're new or old to gaming, this is definitely one to play. On an abandoned research complex on a remote jungle island, a team of special forces operatives, a horde of vicious velociraptors, and one big mean T-Rex constitute the setting and cast of DINO Crisis, a masterpiece from the makers of Resident Evil. You play as Regina, a member of a 4-person team sent to retrieve a scientist. Your radio man became a midnight snack for the T-Rex, so it's up to you and your 2 remaining team members to explore a dino-infested research station, rescue the scientist, call for a helicopter, and escape with your lives. Along the way, you'll uncover the grisly remains of those who got in the dinosaurs' way, and you'll unravel the mystery of how a top-secret energy research project turned into a Jurassic nightmare. One instant you'll be walking along a second-story balcony, admiring the view, the next instant you'll be dodging a T-Rex as it smashes through concrete walls. Velociraptors chase you down blood-splattered corridors, flying reptiles circle outdoor areas, and your only weapons are your pistols and whatever you can salvage. Packed with clever puzzles and heart-pounding surprises, all superbly presented with horror movie camera angles, Dino Crisis is a triumph of survival horror gaming. While investigating the scene of a gruesome mass murder, Detective Sebastian Cantilenas and his partners encounter a mysterious and powerful force. After seeing the slaughter of his fellow officers, Sebastian is ambushed and knocked unconscious. When he awakens, he finds himself in a deranged world where hideous creatures wander among the dead. Facing unimaginable terror and fighting for survival, Sebastian embarks on a frightening journey to unravel what's behind the evil force. Face unthinkable horrors and cruel traps as you struggle to survive against overwhelming odds. Turn evil against itself by using the same diabolical devices against overwhelming deadly creatures. Mysterious and wicked fears loom ahead in a world that warps and twists around you. Experience a disturbing reality as you try to break free from a warped existence in the most horrifying worlds. Defeat terror and experience the ultimate thrill by discovering the evil within. If you thought the remake looked good, wait until you see the HD version. This is the game that survived the survival horror genre and launched a franchise that has sold over 61 million copies. The original Resident Evil was released in 1996 and the remake arrived in 2002. The remake was built from scratch by the same creators and was considered a masterpiece. Don't worry, they've made sure not to change anything that made the original the classic. In 1998, a special forces team is sent in to investigate some bizarre murders on the outskirts of Raccoon City. Upon arriving, they are attacked by a pack of bloodthirsty dogs and are forced to take cover in a nearby mansion. But the scent of death hangs heavy in the air. Supplies are scarce and they struggle to stay alive. Resident Evil HD Remaster is a golden opportunity for newcomers to face real terror. For everyone else, it's a chance to get inside the beloved mansion once again. While set in the series' fictional American town, Silent Hill 2 is not a direct sequel to the first Silent Hill game. Instead, it centers on James Sunderland, who enters the town after receiving a letter written by his deceased wife saying that she is waiting for him in their special place in Silent Hill. Joined by Maria, who strongly resembles her, he searches for his wife and discovers the truth about her death. Additional material in re-releases and ports include Born from a Wish, a sub-scenario which focuses on Maria before she met James. Silent Hill 2 uses a third-person view and gameplay places a greater emphasis on finding items and solving riddles rather than combat. Psychological aspects such as the gradual disappearance of Mary's letters were added later to the game. References to history, films and literature can also be found in the game. Silent Hill 2 is a work of art within the survival horror genre. It is personally my favourite game out of the entire Silent Hill franchise. In Resident Evil 4, Special Agent Leon S. Kennedy is sent on a mission to rescue the US President's daughter who has been kidnapped. Finding his way to a rural village in Europe, he faces new threats that are a departure from the traditional lumbering zombie enemies of the earlier installments in the series. Leon battles horrific new creatures infested by a brand new threat and faces off against an aggressive group of enemies including mind-controlled villagers that are tied to Los Illuminados. Resident Evil 4 is in many ways an outstanding game. It has a long, involving, graphically gorgeous action experience, and a wealth of unlockable gameplay modes adds a lot of replay value. But remember that in the Resident Evil universe, ramping up the action means ramping up the gory carnage. This revolutionary masterpiece represents a turning point for the series, as it brought the gameplay to a third-person over-the-shoulder perspective for the first time. Featuring a thrilling storyline taking place after the destruction of the Umbrella Corporation, Resident Evil 4 not only changed the course of Resident Evil, but influenced countless other titles as well. In Dead Space, only the dead survive. A massive deep space mining ship goes dark after unearthing a strange artifact on a distant planet. Engineer Isaac Clarke embarks on the repair mission, only to uncover a nightmarish bloodbath. The ship's crew are horribly slaughtered and infected by an alien scourge. Now Isaac is cut off, trapped, and engaged in a desperate fight for survival. In the future, Earth's appetite for resources has become a major motivator for deep space exploration. Immense privately owned and operated mining ships called planet crackers orbit planets and use sophisticated equipment to carve out entire city-sized chunks of rock and reduce them to component elements and raw ore. Communications with one of these planet crackers, the USG Ishimura, has ceased while the ship is engaged in deep space mining operations. The company's top engineer, Isaac Clarke, is sent to discover the problem and fix it. Once aboard the vessel, Clarke discovers that a terrifying alien presence has taken over the ship and has horribly killed the crew. Weaponless and terrified, the lone engineer is burdened with much more than the simple survival. He holds the fate of all mankind in his hands. Cut through the harrowing mystery to stop the alien onslaught. Discover the tragic story of the Ishimura's downfall through the final frantic logs of the ship's hideously transformed crew. Call it science fiction survival horror, but Dead Space does the genre proud. With an engaging story, action that's tense, fast-paced and extremely violent, as well as atmospheric qualities that get under your skin and make you jump. If you love survival horror games like I do, action or sci-fi, Dead Space needs to be on your radar. So that was the top 10 best third-person survival horror games. If you like this video, don't forget to subscribe, hit that like button and leave a comment below of your next top 10. So you've been watching Luminous Gaming, I'm your host Tom Roberts, see you on the next video.